What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, the iPhone 16 Pro. I've had it for about, I guess, 9 months now. I got it right when it was announced. A lot of you all liked the video I made about upgrading from the 13 Pro. So maybe you're here and you're curious whether you should pick up the iPhone 16 Pro now, or whether you should wait for the 17 or the 17 Pro. Well, hopefully I can answer that in today's video, or at least give you some more things to think about. Also, big thanks to MagBack for sponsoring today's video. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. As always, everything I mentioned in this video, the iPhone and MagBack, links to both of these will be in the description down below. And if you use those links to purchase something, it's gonna help with the channel and I'll appreciate you forever. I'll also say before we dive in, on this channel, if you're new here, we talk about tech that marries form and function. We like tech that improves our lives and looks good while doing so. So if that sounds cool to you, subscribe and like this video for more. For the first part of this video, let's talk about design. And to do that, I need to take off the case that I'm rocking here. The reason being is not much has changed about iPhone. In fact, things seem to be so incrementally upgraded that it's the tiny design changes that matter. And in a lot of ways, I think they really do matter. The very first thing that I noticed when upgrading from the 13 Pro to the 16 Pro was more roundedness to the phone. And that still holds true. The rounded corners are more rounded than they were on the 13 Pro. I'll also say the back and how it rounds into the side here, the side rails, and how the side rails round into the screen is different than the 13 Pro. And what I've noticed, the 16E as well is more like the 13 Pro, just a flat, very flat and almost square design. Even though it is rounded, it feels more flat than this. And there's just something so subtle and nice about how they have sort of rounded the side rails into the glass, and the same thing on the back. So first thing, more rounded corners and more rounded this way. So when you're holding the device, it is incrementally more comfortable to hold. I'll also say doing things like swiping up from the bottom to unlock your phone or go to the home screen is also a little bit more comfortable. Swiping down for notifications is a little bit more comfortable because of that roundedness. These are like minuscule micro things, but when you've owned like pretty much every iPhone, these are the tiny things you start to notice, and I really love that. What they've done here is kind of what Johnny Ive always used to say. They've married hardware and software, and they're working harmoniously together. And I will say the software and the UI and the UX here has the more rounded look to it. And a lot of times you'll see like the home screen bar here at the bottom is a little bit more rounded and fits the corners of this phone better than it would have on the 13 Pro. So things are a bit more rounded on the software side and the hardware side, and I love that touch of detail. Now, I do have like the black version of the Pro here, and just this back, this sort of matte back and the sort of naturally matte black side rails because of the titanium. This looks so sick, and I know a lot of people love that natural titanium look as well. And I actually picked up the sand, or what was it, desert color too, the desert titanium for my wife, which is a little bit more pink, which is kind of funny, but that also just looks really nice. They definitely look and feel premium, and just the whole, I don't know, the weight, everything about this feels premium, and it sort of always has. This is sort of just a next step up. One thing I'll mention about the Pro phones here, I've never really liked this like triple camera setup. I like having 3 different types of cameras, a nice main camera, a zoom lens, and a wide angle lens. As you all know, I have kids, and the majority of photography and videography I do on here is this, following my kids around. So being able to zoom, being able to get a bigger picture of the room, all that stuff kind of matters. And honestly, we'll probably talk about this more throughout the video, but to the average consumer, that is what matters more than what are the megapixels on the camera. You know, like how long, what are the milliamp hours of the battery in this phone? Now, I know this is the Pro, and they're gearing it more towards pro users, maybe people wanting to film an entire movie on their iPhone, but I still think there are a lot of average consumers that buy this phone, and if they don't, I think the rest of Apple's lineup is still incredible for the average consumer. And while we're talking about cameras here, honestly, I think the 16E is one of the best looking iPhones right now. It's the best looking iPhone in the lineup, and that's mostly because a lot of the same design languages here, but there's just one camera. And I think that looks so clean and so nice. And with rumors of this new iPhone 17 Slim or Air or whatever they're gonna call it, having one camera, I think it's gonna be a lot of people's favorite, and it's probably gonna be my favorite too. I also heard it said that the camera system here is one of the biggest things that cost Apple so much money to make one of these. And so if they can cut down on that, it would be in their benefit to do that as well. Final thing I'll say about like the hardware here, the camera control. Let me know in the comments if you actually use it and what you use it for. The only thing I really use it for is double clicking to open the camera. And if I really need to take a picture really fast, my finger's already on that and I can snap a photo. But I end up usually just using the on-screen camera shutter button. So more often than not, I use it to open the camera, and then I get a little frustrated when I'm accidentally messing with settings on that, which I could probably turn off, because I never use this to like dial in my settings or anything. So I don't know how I feel about the camera control. I saw it as a way for Apple to add a dedicated like Siri AI feature. Now that they've kind of really messed up the whole AI thing, I wonder what will happen with this button. Because when they announced it, I thought it was cool for the camera and everything, but I knew like they're probably gonna make a feature here to have like AI with vision, right? So you just click and hold the button now and it opens up the AI camera thing, which is, I feel like that was probably their point all along. But like I said, now that their AI or Apple Intelligence has had such a bad rep, I don't know how that's gonna work. All right, so coming from iPhone 13 Pro to 16 Pro, I also got Dynamic Island. That has been really interesting, and I think I've actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And I use it more than I thought it would, and I don't realize I use it a lot. Does that make sense? It's one of those things where I love the innovation behind it, first off, because Apple saw that there wasn't a current way to hide the camera or the sensors. So what do you do about that? Do you just leave them there, make the cutout as small as you can, and then work around it? Or, here's an idea, make it actually like functional and useful. And I think like, I don't know that there's many Android phones, I could be wrong, of course. I don't have every knowledge of every phone out there, but making functional use of that area of the phone that is basically unusable in terms of the screen. You know, you can see your music playing there, you can swipe down for more controls, you can see your directions in a really small way, you can see your timers, you can even use it for stuff like your Uber, like seeing when it's gonna arrive. That's just one of those things where like, I don't realize I'm using it, but it's so nice that it's there. And it's very Apple-esque, in my opinion, to do something like that. So like, things like that are what make me love Apple, especially at a time where it's like, what's going on with Apple, right? So I've really enjoyed Dynamic Island, and that's pretty neat. Now, Apple always makes beautiful looking devices. However, if I drop this, it is less than beautiful. It probably shatters in some way, shape, or form. And I would not like to do that with a $1,000 phone. So that leads us to today's sponsor, which is MagBack. Now, I became aware of MagBack before MagSafe was a thing. And in fact, I thought about making a video a long while ago called something like how to get MagSafe on your old iPhone or something like that. MagBack was really cool to me, and I owned one of these, and I loved, my favorite way of using it was while I was doing dishes, having it on the window, like on a magnet right there, so I could be watching YouTube videos while I was doing dishes. Still use that, by the way, still have the little metal strip from the first time I owned one of these. But special thanks to MagBack, because they are sponsoring this video and they sent out their new Elite case. And what they've really done here is just iterated on that first design that they had. So same sort of magnet configuration, but this phone comes with a little kickstand, so you can have it in a couple different ways, like so. They have this little finger strap, which is quite nice, and I've been fidgeting with this a lot. It's also really fun to just like put it in and out. This can charge on MagSafe, so it can reach those magnets through there, which is fantastic. And then of course you do have the actual MagBack magnets here too, which are super strong. Like I said, if you buy one of these cases, it comes with a magnetic strip that you can like, it's got adhesive on the back. You can put it wherever you want, in your car or whatever. But also like if you're at the gym, put it on the rack. If you're in your kitchen, put it on your refrigerator, your microwave, anything that's metal, obviously. One of the sleeper things I love about, and maybe it's not so much of a sleeper, but I notice with a lot of cases, when you hold it like this, your phone, and your pinky is in that little charging area, it's kind of uncomfortable. Not a lot of case companies are like, let's make that smooth and rounded, so it kind of scratches your finger. Little tiny issue, I know, but MagBack thought about it. And they created this thing which is called like the pinky pillow or something. And basically, it's connected to the case, first of all. It plugs into the bottom of your phone, and then it's like this really soft pillow for your pinky. So that is actually really comfortable to hold your phone like that. A couple more things I'll mention. First of all, great protection for your phone. Has a little lip over the top, protects your cameras. A thing that's pretty cool about this, you can see I have like the gray buttons here and black here. A lot of this you can change out the color. So you can change out the little finger loop, you can change out the pillow, you can change out these little like side bumps. You can change out even like the ring around your cameras to sort of make this what you want it to be. So different color cases, different color combinations you can come up with. This is just a fun case, and it's not too bulky. It's pretty slim still. I've really been enjoying using this, and I also don't mind when my kid grabs my phone because I'm like, if they drop it, it'll be protected, so that's fine. But anyway, I'm kind of raving about this because I think it's a really nice case, and I really like MagBack. Thanks to MagBack for sponsoring this. Again, if you want to pick yours up, you can. The link down in the description. Learn more about their company, more about some of their other products. I'd enjoy it. Cool case, nice and innovative. Thanks, MagBack. Back to the video. Performance and internals. This phone is way more than I need it to be. I was happy with what the iPhone 13 Pro was able to do for me, and I would argue, there's probably a lot of you who still have the 13 Pro, it's probably still running things really well with no hiccups. Because this is a tech review channel, I'm always now gonna want the latest and greatest device so I can test it and talk about it and all that kind of stuff and make content about it. But honestly, this phone is so nice. The 13 Pro was so nice. For what the average consumer is gonna use this phone for, it is way more than you even need. And therefore, I mean, I made a review of the 16E, and I think that that phone is more than good for most people. So I don't know, this is almost overkill for normal people, but I also understand having a little more money in your pocket, you want the latest and greatest. This is the latest and greatest, and it's great. We're not in a place now where like there's a reason, and I would probably bore you to death talking about all the specs and stuff inside of here. It works really well. It barely glitches on anything, even with new iOS 26, which we'll get to here in just a little bit, very briefly, but it runs everything perfectly. So in terms of use case and performance, it's fantastic. So let's talk about iOS 26 briefly. I've had the beta on my phone. Honestly, this phone's been handling it really well. Usually if you have the latest Pro model phone, it will handle software very well. Like I mentioned before, I think the software has been developed to sort of match with the phone as well. I'd be interested to see if iPhone 17 lineup is even more rounded or what that looks like. I'll just say with iOS 26 and the whole liquid glass thing, it's one of those updates where when you first get it and start exploring it, you definitely notice things are different. The whole glass look is kind of strange. I felt I kind of warmed up to it after a while, and then the time that you really notice the difference, because it's still very similar. Like the apps are the same, they're in the grid format, you know, they're not circles, they're still squares, they're more rounded, but the time that you notice it is if you go back to another phone that's on iOS 18, then you're like, oh wow, that kind of looks ugly, maybe even. It's crazy how you get so used to something and then when it changes, you're like, wow, that looks old. And that's kind of what happens here too. Liquid glass has grown on me. I think it looks great on here. I'm excited to see it on the iPhone 17 lineup because usually when Apple releases their software, they try to line up the official release of that updated iOS with the actual products that are sort of designed around it. iPhone 17 in that lineup, or maybe they'll call it iPhone 26 this year, who knows, with their new naming conventions, will run this software best, and I'm excited to see iOS 26 on the new iPhone lineup. I've enjoyed it. It's not too different. It's not like it changed my life or anything, but I do think this year is going to be a big year for Apple iPhone, especially with that Air model iPhone. if it has one camera, it's a little bit cheaper, it's gonna look different, it's gonna be noticeably different if you have a few phones next to each other. We're like, oh, is that the new 17? You'll be able to know that. But let's move into the closing thoughts here, right? Because the question is, should you upgrade or wait for the 17? Honestly, if you're not super into these minute details, right? If these tiny little upgrades are things that don't really matter to you and you just want a nice phone that works, and maybe you're sitting on like an iPhone 12 or something and you really do think you need a new phone, go ahead and get this. Sure, go ahead and get the 16e. I think it's gonna be a nice phone, right? And it's kind of like Apple's Macs as well, and their iPads. They're just so capable that like you can't really go wrong with picking a cheaper option because they're just as capable as any other device on the market these days, especially, again, to the average consumer. So I love this phone. I think you will too. If you've got the money for it, maybe you can find a used one. Now, if you do care about the latest and greatest and you're sitting on like an iPhone 13 or 14 or 15 and you're thinking, should I get the 16 or wait for the 17? I think, especially at this point in time, it's July, I would probably just wait for the 17. Like I said, we're gonna get a new kind of brand new model of phone, which will be exciting. In theory, that's what I've heard. But usually those theories come true, those leaks come true. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the iPhone 16 lineup? What do you think of the iPhone 16 Pro specifically? What do you think of this camera button? Do you even use it? Are you gonna wait and get the iPhone 17 or hold out for another year or two? This is always like the biggest discussion I feel around tech content is like, should you get the next phone or wait for the next year? And I feel like this is a year that maybe people should get it. I don't know. Interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks again so much for watching. Thanks again to MagBack for sponsoring today's video. Again, links in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Like this video for more. Watch this video next. I think you're gonna love it. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Yes, I love technology, but not as much as you see. But I still love technology, always and forever.